reimagine how you can do education. And it's really quite exciting to go, all right, I'm going to use this, but not in the way that you expected me to.
And it then shows them that they can be creative in their thinking.
Yeah.
And they can be, critical thinkers, and then confident about their style, their way, rather than trying to fit into the process or the system or the programs.
Yes, absolutely. Hello, Quanta folks, and welcome to another episode of Alchemising Education, our little sister podcast for fucking the shoulds. We're back, and I'm Jodi from QuantiMama.
I'm Kerri from QuantiMama. Thanks for being with us.
Keza.
Yes.
She's got a piece of paper that she doesn't want you guys to see because we normally don't prepare, but bless her, she's written some stuff down because there were some burning bits of desire that were kicking in.
Yeah.
We are talking about this week about modern day addictions. And this conversation has been birthed from one of our early morning walks where we were basically saying like a couple of, I don't know, boomers just complaining about the younger generation and how they appear to be so addicted to various modern day conveniences, but we too are as well. And so, anytime you complain, you must turn that introspection up a little bit and just notice, where's the complaint coming from, and is it because we're actually feeling enslaved by our modern day conveniences? So what are our addictions? What's on your list?
Well, there's lots, really. I mean, there's lots. And you're right. It's not just the younger generation, but we're also addicted to a lot of things, and we're modelling that for the younger generation. So it doesn't just come from them picking up those addictions. But one of the ones that I always think about is I've got a particular friend who every time we speak, and when we start the conversation, she goes, I'm just always so busy. It's busy. How's life? It's, we're busy. That busyness is a really big addiction in our lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Like this need to be busy, this justification about being busy. It's like, I'm important, I'm doing something, I'm purposeful.
It's so ego related. I feel like we could chunk this into various chapters. And so this one is, addicted to activity.
Yes.
Because it's, funnily enough, one of my mates often says, I've got no time. And the joke now is we have a tequila shot. We don't really do it, or we're horribly drunk by midday. But, it's a joke that we have a shot to it. It's a drinking game, because every time she says, I've got no time, I'm like, time's a concept. You've got 24 hours in every single day.
Yep.
And you just get to choose your allocation, So what does that mean? Why is that sense of identity so strong for people, that addiction to need to be busy? Is that a marker of success?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely a marker of success, and it's sort of around a level of importance. It's, as I said before, I think it's a purpose. Like we feel purposeful.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it's a very big distraction. And it's a distraction away from feeling. A lot of the addictions are about dealing with our feelings.
I would absolutely agree with that too.
Or avoiding our feelings and kind of going, that feels really uncomfortable. So I'll just keep myself really busy. And, I just think that it's an avoidance distraction.
So then the question is, what are we avoiding? Because I think that obviously we're avoiding deeper aspects of our existence, deeper thoughts, perhaps uncomfortable truths, perhaps some avoidant behaviour that would ultimately, if you looked at it, would mean you'd probably blow up aspects of your life and perceived comfort. I mean, we're very another thing we're addicted to is the new and shiny.
Yeah, absolutely.
The amount of people that complain about being in debt and buy new cars, and I'm like, stop buying new cars.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
they are the worst asset to invest in. They're not an asset anyway. They lose money as soon as you drive them out of the lot, right? So, the addiction to that. And so part of that then, a lot of these addictions are really interwoven into each other, aren't they?
They really are.
We're addicted to being busy because of the self-importance and, I guess maybe underlying belonging and significance for us. But we're also then addicted to being busy because we must service the addiction to the shiny and new.
Yes. Yeah. The shiny and new and the consumerism of having the latest and greatest.
Yeah.
And feeling like we might be missing out if we don't have it.
Yep.
What have they got? Oh, I don't have that, or my child doesn't have that, so therefore, I've got to keep up, we'll get left behind. I think that's all part of the shiny and new as well. But, keeping up with the Joneses has been a concept that's been around for a very long time. And this sense that we'll miss out, or that we'll be,
missing out
trauma.
Yes.
M-O-T.
Funnily enough, being an acronym.
That's it.
It's very
MOT.
complex. MOT, yeah. So it's funny because obviously you've talked about keeping up with the Joneses. I know that's something we've touched on before. And I think also the other thing we've touched on before is this overcommitment of our kids. And, because this podcast is all about alchemizing education, the underpinning thing that's in here is that what we model for our kids is then what our kids experience and what we sometimes make manifest for them. And I think this addiction to busyness is a marker of successful parenting, because my kid does 5 or 6 extracurricular activities on top of their full-time education job, right? So they're at work for 30 hours a week.
Yep.
And then their fun is also work because they're doing that outside of their work times. Yeah, that's right. Completely scheduled. And then you've got these kids who are just bloody exhausted and we wonder why they want to zone out and move into the third addiction, which is the addiction to tech.
Oh, yeah.
Addiction to screens. And at some point, I know I keep threatening this, I want to talk about tech and kids. I really want to deep dive into it because it continues to be a battle within our family, a battle that, I acquiesce to too often because I'm addicted to being busy. And so I absolutely am conscious that I am not walking the talk of what I want for our kids in this modern generation. But, this overscheduling of kids, we never give them a chance to just be quiet. Self-regulate. Get back in nature, decompress, bring in and understand everything that's happened for them during the day. So there's a very small amount of integration time for our kids. Like, when do they just have a breath from all this new information and stimuli that they are constantly exposed to?
And I think that self-regulation is so critical to these kids, and the fact that they don't actually even know how to do it without, say, technology, like many of them, and adults included. We come home from work or they come home from school, and I know that my son's really big on this one. He gets home and he just wants to sit on the couch and just do something on his phone. And I've often sort of had conversations around, well, is there anything else you can do to self-regulate, to down-regulate? I get that you have been on the go all day. He's very, very social. He's talking a lot in his work, thinking a lot, and he just wants this quiet time. But this need to go to the technology in order to down-regulate or self-regulate rather than find, just sitting there and having a quiet cup of tea and looking out the window if it's a cold day, and you want to be indoors, fair enough. But what else can you be doing? It could be reading a book. It could be listening to music. It could be just staring at a fire. It could be sitting in the sunshine. But we just don't know how to do that without the technology or without those other tools.
That's right, because we're looking, we have basically been entrained to be saved from ourselves.
Correct.
Like that's how we're set up in society. And in fact, if you think about, and I imagine most people would be of this space, it gets to the end of the week, so we've got Friday night, everyone's completely exhausted.
Yep.
The go-to treat is now like a movie and takeout, right?
Yeah.
So then you've got super shit food that is nutritionally just completely obliterated, right? The cheapest of the cheap ingredients, even if you're going somewhere decent, the profit line is always part of, the retail culture. And so you've got this poorly made offering that doesn't nourish you. In fact, it puts you into a place of dis-ease. And then you've got something like you're watching a movie, which may trigger the pleasure centers, but very much for most part, what screens do is they actually drop you into a brainwave state that's similar to sleeping, except that your body doesn't get to decompress. And I think that's why people go to screens as a way to decompress, because their body is sort of telling them, oh, this is a brainwave state we need to be in. Except that it's like eating takeout. It's terrible for you. It doesn't build new healthy cells. It doesn't help information integrate. It doesn't do any of those things. And, you know, am I going to sit here and say we don't do that? We definitely do that.
I know, and I fight that within our family because, and we've actually got better, not always, but better at playing games.
Yeah.
And it can be a really simple game where you don't have to think, like Snap. I mean, my kids are probably too old for Snap, but do you know what I mean? Like a really simple game. We do a lot of and I've got kids who are 18 and 20, and they still like a bit of
Yeah.
And you kind of go, that's not hard. It's not, it doesn't take a lot of thinking. But what I love about that versus a movie is there's still connection time.
Yes.
There's still a time to just sort of wind down, to relax a little bit more, unless you're really competitive and you have to win and you get upset by it. But, you know, on the whole, we actually find that that's a really good way of just relaxing.
Well, it's an opportunity to decompress and integrate, but it's still activity-based. And I think that's where people can get confused, because, in fact, if you were to go for a walk in nature, that's still actually activity on the body. So there's still a natural activity load on the body, but how you feel at the end of that walk is probably far more nourished than if you had sat down on the couch, watched a screen and ate a bag of chips.
Absolutely. And, you know, I often think also, you know, this need for busyness is there's a pace to it.
Yes.
So, you know, we feel like we have to just keep going. Now, even a walk in nature doesn't have to be fast if you don't feel up to it.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be long either. You know, maybe sometimes you've got this particular walk that you do that goes for an hour. Well, maybe just do a part of it and go for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be long. It's just about, you know, how we engage in it and, you know, what we expect out of it. You know, as my husband even picked me up on it yesterday around, you know, it's okay to be doing something without an outcome.
Yes.
You can just do something to just enjoy it.
Yes. But then you might actually find an outcome that feels good anyway, and it'll take you by surprise.
And that's exactly what happened to me yesterday when I decided to do something based on just enjoy the process rather than the outcome. And I got an outcome and I went, oh, that felt great.
Yeah, because it was slightly unexpected. I mean, I think that's why we talk about being in concert with, say, the universal field or whatever you want to call it, the collective soup, because then you get to be surprised and delighted in that space, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. And when you have that, you actually want more of it. It feels really nice. So we've got the addiction to busyness, the addiction to the shiny and new, and we've got the addiction to tech and screens. How then do we navigate this with our kids? Because I think the most obvious thing with that, and I know you've got a list of other things you want to.
That's fine. Yeah.
But let's just like consolidate these ones because they're biggies, right? They're really big. How do we then help our kids these days who are naturally falling prey to this stuff? How do we help them not be addicted to this stuff? The obvious thing has got to be we don't model it ourselves.
It has to be that. It has to be with anything, with any change, with any new way of doing something. We have to model it. We have to look at it ourselves. And I know that I don't love it in the moment, but I really appreciate the mirrors in my life where I watch, say, the kids doing something and I go, they shouldn't be doing that. And you go, actually, I do that. I fall prey to that. And that's where change happens, is that it has to come back to us as the parents. We have to model it. We have to start questioning and really just understand that if we're doing it, they're naturally going to pick up on it. It's just, I just don't see any other way.
No, I mean, they're taking their cues from the environment around them, from the world around them. That's why people send their kids to school, because they want them to learn that stuff in that environment. But the thing is that it's so perverse now. You need to step back and say, what's the overarching intention here? And I keep coming back to the fact that it must be to keep people busy and enslaved, essentially. You keep them compliant because they're busy being busy. They're busy making money to buy the shiny and new, and they are busy being distracted by cute kittens or whatever other bullshit they're watching on whatever social media platform. I mean, there's just so much junk food out there for your eyes and your mind. And none of it is nourishing you. It's not making you a better human.
No.
You don't remember it the next day. I mean, maybe one stands out, but when you scroll for an hour, what do you retain in that?
You don't. And that's by design.
Yeah.
It is by design.
It is a working system.
Yeah. It's been brought to us exactly to keep us addicted and to keep us stuck and keep us doing what keeps society moving in a particular way. And I really believe it's really worked well at disconnecting family members from each other.
Yes.
Like it just, I mean, how many of us, I'm sure we can all relate to at times where we're sitting around having a nice relaxing evening and you've got about 4 of you or 3 of you all sitting there on the couch on your phone. And when I see that happening, I'll say, what's going on here? It's like, oh, yeah. And everyone quickly sort of puts it down, not realising that it's even happened. So then you have to make a conscious choice in that moment to go, okay, we're not doing that. Let's put it away. Let's put it away. And, you know, we hear families and mothers talk all the time about their concern around that behaviour within the family.
Yes.
Well, it's not meant to shame us, but it's meant to,
No,
we need to know it's happening.
We must call it out because it is perverse and pervasive and it is undermining real connection, and you've got to call that out. It has to be done. So one of the really simple things is you can get a tech box, and even if you don't use it, at least there's an intention there, and at some point behavior will change. You know, it's been interesting because we are very, when I say we, it's because like McGill's just not present, so he defers to me for the parenting on this, and I'm slack. So part of being slack is that I give the kids what most would probably assess too much free range on the screens, because I want them to be in the lolly shop and to make better decisions in the lolly shop, if there's such a thing, right? And I think that I'm kidding myself if we think we're going to have a screen-free existence. I mean, I see these groups on social media of screen-free kids, and I'm like, no, it's not happening. I mean, schools is basically screens now.
Oh, and
but it happens even in the homeschool environment. You can take your kids out in nature, but at some point the screens come into it, notwithstanding the fact that the parents are walking around and, you know, my kids used to call me out and say, you're on your screen again. And I'm like, this runs the household, kid.
That's
like
right.
literally it runs the household. So
and they don't see that. So we always talk about active screen time versus passive screen time. So I think that's a really helpful division to say, well, actually.
So what does that mean?
Well, active being that it is running the household, or it is making connection with somebody to organise something, or, you know, you're looking at something in order to do the next step, whatever it might be, versus passive of this you know, for an hour before you even realise an hour's gone by.
Were you on Tinder then? I think that's what that's
that Tinder?
Yeah. She's just giving away a state secret.
Well, I was just trying to be relatable, I think. I've never done it that way. That's hilarious. That's great. So it's about understanding the difference between active and passive. And I think that's a really simple, easy way, because I don't get called up on that anymore because my kids sort of know the difference.
Yes.
And I really don't tend to use it for passive time. Not that much. I mean, we all get hooked on it for sure, but I do very intentionally go, okay, this is active screen time. I'm okay to do it.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And I think that can you know, be helpful if you enable your kids to do that sort of stuff as well.
To know the difference.
But I still see a perversity in the sense that our eldest got a phone mainly because he was, you know, places where he needed a phone to be able to log on for work and stuff, because there's no just telling people you've started working. You have to, it's all punching on via an app,
really
right?
Is, yep.
So this intertwining of technology is just, it's just so inextricably linked with life, right? Anyway, I noticed that he does things like he brings his phone with him when we pop down to the post office, and I'm like, you're not on call. You're okay to leave that at home. Oh, I'll bring it with me. Why? For what? You don't need it. And so I can see even the insidiousness of the Linus blanket that the phone is now providing for him. He's actually not doesn't do a lot of stuff on the phone, but it's still this thing where he needs it with him the whole time. And I talk to him quite frankly about the fact that this is a surveillance device. Just so you know, you are signing up for surveillance. Now, if you don't mind being surveilled, more power to you. Go for it. Download all the apps you want, leave all the permissions on, no probs. But if you have an opinion about that and perhaps you want to be the master of your life rather than the bitch, which is what this technology is creating for us, then you must start exercising some level of control. And the other thing we talk about, because I really love Joe Dispenza talks a lot about, how the brain works and the hormones and the addictiveness of this stuff. So he's talked about that a lot, and I really love what he has to say about, he was calling out technology in his family quite early as well. And so, it was obviously no phones or screens at the table, which we have always done. I know you guys do as well. It's an easy thing. There's a sacrosanct space for having a family meal. Even just having a family meal is hard enough these days with everyone's moving busyness. But he also talks about how it changes the neural pathways and how it fires up the addiction centres. So that's one of the things in terms of how we alchemize education. Part of the education in our household is how are you changing your neural mapping? How are you affecting yourself by the choices you're making? What addictive decisions are you making that are creating stronger addictions? And can you break out of that? Which way is it? Is it the chicken or the egg with your phone? Who's in charge of whom? And so trying to empower the kids to make better decisions. Again, that idea of being in the lolly shop but not just having an absolute free-for-all. I just think that feels to me like playing the long game with our kids on these things.
Well, they have to be able to experience it for themselves, what it makes them feel like, and then make their own choices around it. Be ready to make that choice because, as we all know, nobody likes to be told that you should be changing your way.
Correct.
Like as soon as someone says, I think you really need to change the way you do that, it's like instantly like,
it always goes well for the messenger.
So we do need to give these kids these experiences and help them understand, how it's working for them and isn't working for them, and have those sort of conversations about it.
Check in.
But it's really tough with the technology because it is all through the schools and
and
it's expected in the schools. Whereas I'm still an old school sort of a girl, which I love my paper copy of things. I like to write things down. I love a good book. I don't love working from a screen. So
you do airplane mode in the car, so you are basically uncontactable.
Yes, and I often leave airplane mode on, and I forget, and then someone says, "I've been trying to contact you." It's like, oh yeah, phone's on airplane mode. Sorry.
Yeah, but I like not being contactable all the time. I am not on call.
No,
you can pay me $10 an hour if you like, and I'll go on call. That's fine. But you can't call me. If you call me, then it's a call out fee, and so suddenly we start, really honouring the fact that you are here for this limited amount of time in this skin sack, and you do not need to be on call all the time. There is nothing that important.
That's another addiction, isn't it? That's another addiction, is the fact that we feel like we have to be always contactable.
Yes.
And it's really like when I go for a walk and I like to not take my phone with me. And that feels great when, you've just had that hour of just not having anyone being able to contact you, and that when you are in nature, you're really in nature. You don't have this stuff that's constantly admitting you. But there's an addiction to that feeling like if they can't contact me, what's going to go wrong?
What if I fall over and break a leg? I'm like, when have you broken a leg on all your other walks?
Well, what's going to happen if someone calls me and they can't get in contact with me? They'll just have to deal with whatever it is.
Correct.
And I think that's perfectly okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely that addiction to being in contact with people all the time is there as well.
Oh, it's prevalent. What else have you got on your list?
Well, I think the other one is about an addiction to achievement.
Oh, yes. Well, we've talked about that, haven't we?
We have. So I think that sense of needing to be achieving, succeeding, proving ourselves, justifying what we're doing. I think that's another really big one that comes again through the school system, because that's how the school system is set up.
Yes.
The good old grading system, A, B, C, D. I mean, that in it so early on, even a pass or a fail or whatever, it's this need to be achieving. And that's what fed into my situation yesterday, when it's like, I need to be doing this. I need to get to this point. It's like, no, just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the actual being part of that rather than having to get to an end marker.
Yes.
And then feeling that sense of, oh, I didn't really achieve it, or I didn't really make it. So then you just feel rubbish about yourself, or you feel like you've failed. So I think this need to achieve is a very big one for many people.
Is there a place for those, like, you know, is there a place, how do we find that self-assessment, you know, because I think that then it gives you a sense of, I don't think you can do anything. Say you do something for 2 hours.
Yep.
You cannot be the same person when you started as when you finished because something has happened in those 2 hours. So inextricably you have changed in some fashion, even if it's by some small measure. But do we, for ourselves, need that mark of measure? Do we need to be able to see that change?
I think society tells us that we do.
Yeah.
But that's where we've lost that sense of just being happy with what we're achieving.
Yeah.
So it then sort of probably feeds into that external validation where we feel this need to always get the external input into whether we have been successful or not. So whether it be report cards, you know, we love to have got that feedback and to sort of go, yeah, we're doing well, or we are being accepted.
Yes.
That is also another part of that success struggle that we have.
So I wanted to share with you, because there's something that I'm doing that probably is at odds with what you're talking about. And I'm not saying it's an addiction, but it is something that I think, I don't know, I feel like it's a hack of doing tests in a certain way.
Yep.
The kids have been doing an online maths thing, just basically so, you know.
You're ticking off the list.
I'm ticking a box for if and when I get audited, right?
Yep.
So consider this as evidence. But the kids are doing that. But rather than actually doing the lessons, because I said to them, you learn math in a multitude of different ways, right?
Absolutely.
But they want to know that themselves. And so I said, okay, with the math course, or, you know, the math program you're doing, only do the tests. Don't do the lessons.
Okay.
And the reason why I suggested that is that the way they work stuff out is different to the way they're tested, right?
Yeah.
And so some of my kids have, they question themselves about that. Oh, I must be wrong. I'm doing it wrong. I'm dumb, you know, and there can be those kind of more extreme responses.
Yep.
And then there's a couple of the kids that just hold that frequency of, you know, they just do it their own way and they get that, right? Yep. And they go, well, I do it differently. And I'm like, cool, I'm really happy with that. The point is, I don't feel the need for them to learn via the math program's way, which tells them a certain way of working out something, because the ultimate test is, did you get the answer correct?
Yep.
And it's one answer, right?
Yep.
So there's only one answer that's possible in this mathematic equation. We're not even going to get into the semantics of whether that's true or not, but for all intensive purposes, it's one answer.
Yep.
And so the kids now are doing the tests only, no lessons whatsoever.
Wow.
And then we find that if there is a gap in their knowledge base around that, then we go back and we go, all right, well, let's find some structure and see if this makes sense. And so I'm finding that from a testing point of view, it's interesting, because then they get that sense of, you already know this. You can already work this out. And you know, the kids that normally think they can't do math are finding out they can do math. And so when we talk about alchemizing education, what I want to say to people is there are different ways to do this. And just because as adults we've been trained to do the lesson and then the prac and then the test, you actually don't have to. And that's the flexibility that comes with keeping your kids home and having a closer relationship with them, because these conversations get to come up and you get to reimagine how you can do education. And it's really quite exciting to go, all right, I'm going to use this, but not in the way that you expected me to.
And it then shows them that they can be creative in their thinking.
Yeah.
And they can be, you know, critical thinkers and then confident about their style, their way, rather than trying to fit into the process or the system or the programs.
Yes, absolutely.
Very powerful.
All right, what else have you got? What else is on your list?
Hang on, let me have a look.
Did you need your glasses?
You know, the other one was institutional approval. You'll love this one, Jodes. Because
the addiction of approval, of validation.
The validation from those who are external to us.
Oh, people that wear white coats and stethoscopes,
Correct.
or, professional hats.
Or they wear the teacher hat, or they wear maybe the politician or whatever it is, but the so-called experts who are out there that we need we need to know that they validate what we're doing or where we're heading.
And if they say it isn't so, then therefore it isn't so. But if you know it to be so, then in fact it is so. And so you never needed them to say it was so in the first place.
Correct.
And so why do we need that validation?
I think it just comes back to, we feel like because we haven't got the qualifications, we can't make that decision on our own. So this is where we are disconnected to our own intuition, because we actually know a lot of it already.
Yes.
We just don't have the qualification. Yes. We don't have the language. We perhaps don't have all the resources that are behind all of these professional people. But actually, I think if you just stop still and you just, if you didn't have those people there, you would find a way.
Yeah, that's right. And there's got to be a distinction here. It's not about not going and getting the information off someone who knows more than you. Like if you see in someone that they have certain information that you then want to learn, then more power to you. Go and find out that information and then make it your own.
And that's the difference.
But do you need the ticket? Do you need the certificate?
Yeah, I just kind of feel like we are giving away our power by always seeking those answers from others. And yes, you can certainly get their information. You can maybe go to one or two people and gather that information and learn for yourself. But actually, ultimately, you can still decide.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's something that we're addicted to, is this, we can't make that decision because they know best. It's a little bit like childbirth, right? A little bit like when I went through childbirth, and I would do it very differently next time. But, I gave up my power.
So many women do.
Exactly, because they're the experts. They know better than me. I've never been in this situation before, so therefore I'll just hand it over to them. Yeah. And I think that can be very damaging to our self-worth and, then to other decisions that we make further down the track. So
when we empower the institution, we often... We either give them what we think are going to be the outcomes and values that we hold dear, that they will do the same thing. We make an assumption.
Yep.
And we also don't look at the terms and conditions. So, you take, say, university, which is, for the most part, the biggest crock of shit, because there is definitely some things in there that you may need to go and learn, right? And,
a lot you don't ever apply.
The idea that you can go to uni and learn how to do marketing. I mean, the day you start doing marketing at uni, you already don't have currency because it changes so fast, and particularly now in the world of AI, right? Yeah. So with this ever-changing landscape, but more than that, marketing really is about, it's a sociological and anthropological exploit, basically. It's looking at how people behave and how they take in information and their behaviours in terms of the way they respond to messaging. And it's not necessarily something you need to learn in an institution. You actually need to be around people, observing them, asking them questions, having a good degree of curiosity.
Yes.
So that's not something you have to go and get a qualification for. And more than that, you don't need to go and get a, like $15,000, $20,000 debt as well in doing that. So you start out, I mean, we have definitely called out the uni thing. Yeah. That's something that I think we're getting clearer and clearer on, particularly for our kids. And this is something like, I went to uni, got a qualification, didn't use it, then went to ambulance school, got another diploma. McGill was a bit the same. He went and got a teaching degree and then went off and became a police officer for a while. And so, we actually have a couple of qualifications to our name, and it's extraordinary. At least one of them didn't cost us any money, but the first one cost heaps, and we spent years paying it off. And for what?
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of it? What did I come out of there learning that I couldn't have learnt in industry?
Yep.
And the absolute removal of industry for a lot of these, say, uni courses just makes no sense whatsoever.
We were talking with someone the other day about traineeships. Remember the good old traineeships where you would go into a workplace and you would be a trainee for a year or two before you became a qualified employee.
Yes.
And that was the learning on the job. in the workplace. You have a mentor there to guide you, to share their knowledge, their wisdom, their information. And you were being paid to do that.
Yeah.
Remember those days? You were getting paid to learn. I mean, that was a remarkable concept.
But even if you don't, like I talk to my kids and say, you are never going to be so cheap and useful as you are right now, right? Because there are certain laws in place to make sure people get paid appropriately.
Yeah.
But the laws are absent for children or for young adults, say. So when you're 18, 19 years old, you are cheap as chips for an employer, but you are also hungry for information. And particularly if you are, say, a visual or a kinesthetic learner, when you go into a work environment, you absolutely get that sort of learning, right? It's hands-on, or you get to watch what someone's doing and then have a go. But the point is the cognition rate is far higher for how that information drops in, makes sense, and you can then do it yourself, right? And you're also super cheap. And so one thing that I've become really clear on now with the spaciousness of having the kids home is that there is a great opportunity for them to go in and do a smorgasbord of different work that they might like. Different work interests is what I'll call it, because I don't want them to be slaves.
Different work environments.
And go out and experience the world and just be helpful, be useful, be curious and get involved, because those people are ultimately rewarded and they will be favoured over people who have a uni degree. That is the reality for most of the workforce out there. The creatives will inherit the earth. There is no doubt about it now.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the young people are calling out the fact that they don't feel ready for work.
Absolutely.
As we found last week when we were with the King's Trust of Australia. And those young kids were going, they just didn't have a sense of what the workplace would look and feel like.
Yes.
And they were really worried about how they were going to navigate being in those workplaces, because a lot of the schools now don't do work experience. Apparently that program has pretty much been shut down. There's
I can't even fathom it.
Very few schools that do that work experience
now. But
even
when I was in school, I did 1 or 2 work experiences. Now, that is nuts. That is absolutely nuts, because you've got kids that really could be going in and being of value, but they're just considered a nuisance, like they get in the way and it's just a box-ticking exercise, you know. So partly we don't have industry that wants to encourage it either.
Not supporting it. Not supporting it. And I'm not sure how that came about, but I really feel that was such a important part of the process when we were younger. And for the homeschoolers that we know, they're all getting that experience now. So they're going into different jobs. It may be just part-time. It could be a week. It could be 1 day a week. It could be an hour a week. But they're getting exposure to different workplaces. So I think that is critical to their development.
Well, I mean, I just say to my kids, don't expect to get paid. You don't get paid to go to school. So, you know, don't expect to get paid. Your payment is, you know, that transference of information.
Correct.
You get to ask the questions, and that's really powerful, you know. So, thinking about how to be, I guess, more adaptive in the way kids learn is really helpful. I mean, and we talk about this in Take the Leap. What kind of learner is your kid? And I was saying this to Quanta Kid 2 the other day. She was, you know, asking me a bunch of questions, and she was talking about what school had been like for her, and it's fascinating what still keeps coming out.
Right.
And I just allow for it. You know, she's unpacking however many years she did, 6 years of school, and just unpacking that, you know, in her own time. I don't need to steer that ship. She's doing it herself. But she was talking about, you know, what she perceived as her difficulties in school, and I guess how that then contributed to her belief system about her capacity and capabilities, which were quite damaging, I have to say.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I said to her was, what kind of learner are you? You know, do you learn hands-on as in your kinesthetic, or do you learn by watching, or do you learn by listening, or do you learn by reading? And she said, I probably learn by hands-on and by watching. And I said, okay, so when you were learning, say, math or English and things like that, how much of that was hands-on? And she said, well, none of it, virtually. There was a bit, but not much. And I said, so you're being taught stuff, you're being assessed on stuff, you're getting given a timeline to get stuff done and being taught in a way that isn't the way you learn. So how is that fair for you? And how does that reflect whether you're dumb or smart?
Yeah.
And it landed for her. She got it. I said, how many other kids do you reckon are like you? And she went, most of them. So these kids know. And,
they do.
you know, bringing up what you said about KTA, when we got to listen to those,
Young
you know,
people.
kids talking about what they perceived was missing from their education, the list was so long.
Yeah, it was long.
And it was all stuff that we said, yes, you
that.
guys are right onto it.
Yeah.
You need to know this stuff.
Yeah,
That is actually stuff that you need when you come out of school. So why would you not want to be prepared for when you come out of school? Like, why wouldn't you? And they're asking for it, but there is no facility for the institution at this stage to be responsive to that.
No.
And so the helplessness is there.
Definitely.
They just kind of are stuck in this situation going, I know what I need to know, and
and no one's giving it to me. No one's giving it to me. And I think, it's probably another podcast, but I think we rely upon the school system to give the kids those skills, but ultimately also it's up to the parents to help those kids learn those skills as well, which is a whole They're busy.
They're busy being busy.
They're
Come on now. They're addicted
to consumerism and it's interesting, isn't it? The other one I wanted to also bring up is the addiction to certainty.
Oh, this has been a good thing for you over the years.
I have loved certainty. So that surrender to not knowing, not having structure or not having an outcome or not having an end product or not knowing where it was going. I've been very addicted to certainty, very addicted. And I think we are when there's so much structure in our world. And there's really clear expectations and clear outcomes and clear products, and
everything is sanitized and containerized.
Yeah, absolutely.
And therefore it's certain. But there's no fun in that. And in fact, if you want to then live in the quantum field, say, the field that is greater to us, the great unknown, then there must be surrender and trust within that equation.
Yes.
They just must.
Yes.
Like, that's the deal, right?
It's really quite liberating, though, when you no longer hook on to that certainty. Like, you then don't try to control as much in your world.
Yes.
You sort of let go to whatever happens is what's meant to happen. And it just takes all the walls down and just sort of frees you up to all possibilities and opens your mind to so much more.
It brings us back to our childlike state.
Yes, it does.
Because being the child is being in a sense of play, and part of that play is not knowing where the play is going to go.
Yeah.
Like, you don't play with the dollhouse knowing at some point there will be, a certain outcome.
Or that you have to make sure that room is cleaned up and that room looks like that. You just play.
You just wander down the pathway and find out where you lead. And it's all part of being present and being, in the joy of the experience rather than in the expected outcome. And I think, again, this is always related to the fact that it is by design. You want certainty, this is why we have, super funds and things like that. We need certainty to have money for our future when we finish working, which suggests to me that then we are being curated to have a lifetime of debt, so that we need then like a little kiddie savings account to make sure we've got enough later on when we're not working, right? And I know that the story is that it's so you're not a burden on society, but I still wonder if it creates this lack mentality because you think you won't have enough otherwise.
And also I think it takes away our, we love that self-radical responsibility because it takes away that thought of, well, we can look after ourselves.
Yes.
But no, we have to actually put super fund into an area and we can't touch it till 65 or whatever the age is now.
Yeah.
And
because we're children, apparently.
Because we don't know how to manage our own money.
Yep.
So we give away our control
That's right.
and our power to that particular, program.
Yes.
Because we can't do it ourselves.
It's a very parent frequency, isn't it?
It really is.
It's it's like this. I always got offended by these Christmas accounts where the bank decided that you couldn't touch your money.
Yeah, until Christmas time.
And I'm like, well, how come you only give me decent interest rate if, I promise not to touch it? But, does the bank really, does it make a difference for the bank? They would say, well, it's just so you don't take your money out and we've got more to play with.
Yeah,
but
we can do it for you. We can help you. Yeah. Yeah.
The gaslighting.
Just stick it in a jar and don't touch it.
Exactly right. The interest rate would be about the same.
Well, I guess it's only a year, but if you look at it over the years, as we've spoken before, interest rate really doesn't give us much.
No.
Not compared to something like silver or gold.
Woo! Precious metals.
Yeah, precious metals. Yeah.
Shout out to as good as gold. Go buy some.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's right. I know. Happy
We've
days.
So I think they're probably the main addictions that I can think of. Have you got any other addictions in modern life that you think we kind of feel like we can't live without?
Well, I mean, I know that, McGill and I have spoken about the addiction to drama. I think that's a big one. And I see that in my kids too. So, without launching a whole new conversation, I think there are the addiction to addiction would probably be the most prevalent. Is people love to have an addiction, whether it's addiction to drama, addiction to screens. And I don't know if that helps them feel.
Addiction to being a victim.
Addiction to being a victim, definitely. I mean, that's a big proponent of the drama cycle. But, that need for an addiction is the great antidote is to just be present with your life, with whatever you're doing. And when you are present, you are whole. You're not in need of anything else. You're not in lack. And there are moments, I think they're fleeting for lots of people, but there are moments where you are present with what you're doing and where you are and who you're with and the level of engagement. And it's a beautiful thing when you get those bliss points.
Yeah. And I think there's a real sense of peace and ease and comfort in a positive way. Like I'm not saying it's kind of just that it's a knowing that you're doing and being exactly what you need to be.
Yeah. And I think if you need motivation to not be addicted or to at least wrangle some control over whatever addiction is, your choice of poison, just acknowledge the fact that when you participate in addictive behaviour, you are firing up cortisol and you're firing up a bunch of other hormones that disconnect you from finding the simple pleasure and joy in life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They really do rewire your brain, but it is recoverable. If something can be wired, it can be unwired and it can be rewired, right? Whatever can be made can be unmade and whatever can be unmade can be made. So all of these things with energy are all recoverable and can all be transmuted. So there's absolutely an opportunity to always find, the higher expression of this.
It's a conscious awareness around it, isn't it? It's about knowing that there's lots of things out there that do have us in that addicted state.
Yeah. And because we love a swear word in our house, I often say to the kids, don't make yourself life's bitch. Like literally do not be the slave to your life because you've chosen to be here for this experience. So, it's about making life work for you. And so just noticing where that the tipping point is, that balance point is really important. So, but use your kids as motivation if you need to. And, Kerri's giving the hand up for a child that's waiting to come in.
You can't.
Okay. Getting the wind up.
We're getting the wind up from the youngest, 24.
Oh, out of the mouths of babes as usual. So, mum's talking too long, wind her up.
Yep, definitely.
Love this conversation, Kessa.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think to be aware of all those addictions that are out there, and some of them are by design, some of them we choose, some of them we are, stuck with, some of them we just need to be more aware of. And I think, it's all possible to make those changes and just be more present.
Yeah, and if you're bothered by it, like if you're not bothered by it, go for it. Be as addicted as you want. Go buy a new car.
Yeah, but go get all those clothes that you don't really need. Correct. Whatever it is that works for you. And, if some of these are a bit of a trigger to you and you kind of go,
yep,
I'm addicted to that. It's like, well, that's okay. It's not a judgment. It's just about, are you okay with that?
It's always an invitation.
It is.
It's always an invitation that if you are having some kind of response to it, then it's an invitation to look at it, you know, because we want everyone to get the juice out of life. Don't be life's bitch.
No.
Right? Make life your bitch in the nicest possible way.
Love that, Jodes. Beautiful. Yep.
Such highbrow words.
I vibe.
Quanta folks, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey, Quanta folks. You know, the conversations that we have about alchemising education are underpinned by our amazing Take the Leap course for parents, which is all about deschooling the parents. If you're keen to deep dive more, then check out the QuantiMama.com website and find the Take the Leap course. This course is beautiful because it will give you an opportunity to examine where your programs are, where you're creating limiting beliefs and expectations for your child, and it ultimately frees you to be the best advocate for your child that you can be, and that's all of us can ever want for our children, just to love, nurture and watch them become the most incredible individuals that we already know them to be. So more info, head to QuantiMama.com.